June 13, 1971, Los Angeles. Frank Sinatra stands alone on stage at the newly built Music Center, in front of a room full of Hollywood's biggest names. He performs one final song, sets down the microphone, and tells the audience something almost nobody expected. He's retiring. Completely. No more recordings, no more concerts, no more Frank Sinatra on stage. At 55 years old, at the height of his cultural influence, the man who had spent 3 decades reinventing himself was choosing to walk away entirely. 2 years later, he was back, with a new album, a primetime television special, and 4 words that made headlines around the world. Old Blue Eyes is back. What actually happened in those 2 years? This is the full documented story. By the late 1960s, the music industry Sinatra had once dominated was changing rapidly. Rock and roll had fully taken over popular culture, and many of the traditional pop and jazz vocalists of Sinatra's generation were finding it increasingly difficult to stay commercially relevant on radio and record charts. Sinatra, however, wasn't fading quietly. In 1969, he released My Way, a song that would go on to become one of the most recognized and enduring recordings of his entire career, later becoming closely associated with his public identity for the rest of his life. Commercially and critically, Sinatra was still a major force. But according to documented interviews from the period, he was privately expressing exhaustion, both with the demands of touring and recording, and with what he described as a changing entertainment industry that felt less connected to the kind of music he'd built his career on. In March 1971, Sinatra publicly announced his intention to retire from show business. He explained his decision in interviews at the time as a desire to spend more time on personal interests and to step away while he still felt he was performing at a high level, rather than continuing until his abilities visibly declined. His farewell performance took place on June 13, 1971, at the Los Angeles Music Center in a concert billed explicitly as his final show. The event was attended by a wide range of prominent entertainment figures, and it received extensive national media coverage, treated by the press as the closing chapter of one of the most significant careers in American entertainment history. Sinatra closed the concert with the song Angel Eyes, ending on the line, "Excuse me while I disappear," a moment widely reported at the time as a deliberate symbolic farewell to his audience. For the next roughly 2 years, Sinatra largely stepped back from formal public performances and major recording projects, though he remained a visible public figure through occasional appearances and personal engagements. Documented accounts from friends and industry associates during this period describe a period of adjustment, with Sinatra exploring other interests, including a more active role in philanthropic and political activities. However, multiple contemporaries and biographers have noted that Sinatra's connection to performing never fully disappeared during this period. He continued to be involved in the entertainment industry in various capacities, and according to later interviews, the idea of a full, permanent withdrawal from music became increasingly difficult for him to sustain. In 1973, Sinatra announced he was returning to recording and performing, releasing the album Old Blue Eyes is Back, along with an accompanying television special of the same name that aired in November 1973. The special combined musical performances with reflective segments, marking his return to a national audience. The reception to his comeback was largely positive, with critics and audiences welcoming his return to active performing. The phrase, "Old Blue Eyes is Back," became widely used in press coverage at the time and has remained closely associated with this specific chapter of his career ever since. Following his return, Sinatra resumed a full performing and recording schedule that would continue, with some interruptions, for nearly 2 more decades. He toured extensively throughout the late 1970s, 1980s, and into the early 1990s, becoming known for his continued ability to sell out major venues well into his 70s. Looking back, biographers and music historians have often pointed to this 2-year period as a revealing moment in understanding Sinatra's relationship with his own career. Unlike his early 1950s career collapse, this retirement was entirely his own decision, made from a position of continued commercial success rather than professional crisis. The fact that he returned suggests, according to multiple accounts from people close to him at the time, that performing had become less a professional obligation and more a core part of his identity, something he found he wasn't able to permanently set aside, even when he had the full freedom and financial security to do so. This period also demonstrated Sinatra's continued relevance to audiences even after an extended absence, reinforcing his position as one of the few entertainers of his generation capable of maintaining major commercial success across multiple distinct phases of a decades-long career. He said goodbye on a Los Angeles stage in 1971, certain he meant it. 2 years later, the world learned that Frank Sinatra, without a stage, simply wasn't Frank Sinatra at all. The retirement that didn't last became just another chapter in a career defined again and again by reinvention. In our next episode, we'll cover another single, defining moment from Sinatra's remarkable life. If you're enjoying these deep dives into real, documented events from classic Hollywood history, subscribe. There's a lot more history still to uncover.